if you don't have a good quality, differentiated brand or product, it doesn't matter how good you are at the other stuff. If you can reduce your advertising spend by 5%, that's a massive impact on your contribution margin. So I think probably for resellers, PPC has to be one of the biggest things to focus on and get great at. We found just over $1 million in reimbursements cash flow that had been missed by another company. This person is selling their business right now. And if you're getting a 4 times annual profit valuation on your business and you just put another $1 million into the pot, that $1 million is now worth $4 million. So just in a few days, by running an audit, we just made this guy $4 million richer.
Hello and welcome to Seller Assistant Talks. My name is Oleg Kuzmenkov. I'm the founder of Seller Assistant. Seller Assistant is the best tool for sourcing products for online arbitrage and wholesaling on Amazon. In this series, we dive in on how to sell on Amazon, and we bring lead experts of the industry and our partners who serve Amazon sellers. Today, I'm so happy to let you know that we just partnered with Getida. Getida is leading service for Amazon reimbursements. So if you have some money lost or inventory lost on Amazon, just text them and they will return your money. Our special guest is Jim Mann. He's a manager at Getida and he's responsible for promoting Getida in Europe. Hi, Jim. I'm happy to see you here at Seller Assistant Talks. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Oleg. Thanks for the intro. Nice to see you.
Jim, could you please let us know what is the Getida's business about and how Getida helps Amazon seller in their journey?
Our business is very simple. We work with FBA sellers, whether you're a private label seller or a reseller working arbitrage. Amazon FBA is a near perfect machine, which is why so many people choose to invest and scale the business using FBA, but they make mistakes. And so we operate in the 1 to 3% where FBA makes some mistakes. They lose inventory, they damage inventory, and we get 1 to 3% of annual revenue back for FBA sellers as a reseller or a private label seller. So in the arbitrage game and the reselling game, where it's high volume, low margin, 1 to 3% of additional revenue could be 20, 30% extra profit at the end of the year. So I think this is why this could be a really interesting conversation for your users and how we collaborate.
Today, we just partnered and we have listed Getida as our key partner in our partner directory. So could you please let us know how our partnership can bring even more value to our customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we connect via the API in your customer seller central account via MWS. So they're probably used to doing it. Any tool or third-party software provider will connect via MWS. We then pull every transaction daily through your API. And we actually pull about the 6th largest data pull on Amazon's API now. We audit about 10% of FBA revenue globally. So we ingest a huge amount of data. And what the platform then does is finds where there's what we call a discrepancy. This is an opportunity that could be qualified for reimbursement. So when the discrepancy is discovered by the platform, it then gets filed across to our case team. We have nearly 200 case workers who then manually file on behalf of the seller inside Seller Central. They raise a case, they provide the documentation, Amazon reviews. We get about 92% success rate on cases filed. So our team are very good at what they do. When the case is confirmed as a valid reimbursement, the money goes directly back to the seller. We don't see the money. So we file a claim, Amazon reviews, money goes back to the seller. And at that point, we charge a percentage of what we recover. If we're not successful, we don't get paid. There's no subscription. There's no setup costs. We're just there in the background working for the sellers and trying to get money back for them. And we charge 25% of what we recover. And for bigger sellers, obviously, we charge a little bit less. And we're happy to talk about that for larger revenue sellers.
Great. It sounds like a no-brainer. I know every Amazon seller focus on building their business, growing it, expanding it, but reimbursements or refunds, returns, it's not main focus on their business, but there are extra potential for profit. And if you ignore things like lost inventory, you probably ignore your opportunity to get extra money from your business.
Yeah. Oleg, I can tell you that Getida was founded, the two founders, the co-founders of Getida were actually resellers. And they built a $25 million business. They then were merged into another bit. They were doing $100 million as resellers and high volume, but low margin. And they were building all of what we do now with software. They were doing it in sheets and they kept breaking sheets. And because it's a low margin business, like I said earlier, 20% of their annual profit was tied up in reimbursement cash flow. So they built a tool for their own use. Their friends then started using it and said, hey, this is amazing. And in 2016, they sold through all the inventory on their business, exited, and went all in on Getida. And that's when Getida became a service for sellers. But it was actually originated by resellers and obviously by default designed for resellers doing arbitrage. So it's a very relevant tool to your users.
It sounds like everyone need to pay attention on their lost inventory and check your account for ability to recover some money, because Amazon never show these numbers. Amazon actually owe you some money, and you need to do something. Just go and grab them back, right?
Yeah, you can do it. Look, I mean, I encourage all sellers to understand every part of their business, whether it's supply chain, PPC, advertising, external traffic, SEO for listing optimization, and then this stuff in the background. It's good to understand how reimbursements work, and also for you to actually try and do it yourself. So when Amazon loses inventory, to file a claim, so you see how they respond, what documentation they ask for, and how much time it takes. So it's good, I think, for any business owner to have some level of understanding of every part of their business, including reimbursements. I think also what then happens is that most business owners will discover it's pretty tedious. Seller Central can drive you a bit crazy. They often say no, and the cost of doing it versus the success and return is probably not worth it. And then when you bring in a professional like Getida, yes, we charge money, but because of our high success rate, we should be netting more cash flow back in the business, even after our fees, without distracting your teams. Your team are then free to go and work on other value-added stuff as well. So it's a simple idea what we do, but the process and the technology behind it, we've put about 4 million into our platform to get to where we are today. So we're the best at what we do. It's all we do, right? So if we're not the best, we're in trouble. There are other people doing what we do, but often it's a bolt-on service or it's something else. Getida focuses on one thing, reimbursement. So we have to be the best at what we do or we go out of business pretty quickly.
I love the idea to focus on what you do best. And Amazon sellers do best their sales, not reimbursement. But Getida does reimbursement. So focus on what you do and delegate what you cannot do perfectly, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you notice some interesting trends or what you hear from Amazon sellers, what you notice from your perspective about latest trends in selling on Amazon, and what do you think about that?
It depends on the type of seller. So if we start with private label sellers who are brand owners and they sourcing, designing their own product, I think there's been lots of shifts in the last few years, but probably I think the most important thing now is that we're seeing huge competition on the platform. It has the largest number of customers and therefore the biggest opportunity to make money. But a consequence of that is people are brutally competitive. Pricing is tough. So for private label sellers, it doesn't matter how good you are at everything Amazon. If you don't have a good quality, differentiated brand or product, it doesn't matter how good you are at the other stuff. So everything sits at the core of having a good brand and a good product. So I think that's the one thing that 5 years ago, you could probably get away with outranking people by technique with an average product. Those days are long gone. You now need to do all of that. But first of all, you need to have a fantastic product and brand, and ideally an audience who want to follow you and bring traffic into Amazon as well. That's for private label sellers. For resellers, I think, advertising is probably one of the biggest bleeds. I mean, it is for everyone, right? But if you're selling someone else's brand and product, that bit's taken care for you. Then it's about margin, unit economics. And one of the biggest drivers of unit economics is obviously how much you're spending on advertising. So I think PPC is probably one of the biggest drivers for the reselling and the arbitrage market, where margins are thin. And, years ago, people were spending 5% of their revenue on advertising. Then it crept up to 10. And now many people struggle to keep below 20% of their revenue on advertising spend. So if you can reduce your advertising spend by 5%, that's a massive impact on your contribution margin. So I think probably for resellers, PPC has to be one of the biggest things to focus on and get great at.
What is your latest achievement in the business? I mean, what Getida's achievement and your personal one in this business, and the latest achievement you're proud of? What's your next plans at Getida, and what's Getida's plans too?
We're about 300 people now as an organization. And so we've been doing some work on our vision and our values and what gets us all out of bed in the morning. Because when you're a small startup team, you're kind of very close and connected and full of passion. As you get to 300 people, you need to remind yourself like why we're all here and what brings us together. And what we're very clear on that really gets us all juiced up out of bed is, yes, we are about getting money back for sellers, but what's the impact of that? Most of our client base, we work with big brands, so we work with the biggest brands, global brands, household names you would know. But also a lot of clients are entrepreneurs, private label brands, resellers, and we know that this business feeds a family and facilitates a lifestyle. Right? A lot of people go into selling online for a lifestyle, and it allows them to break the umbilical cord from a corporate job. They're not happy and spend more time at home, perhaps traveling with their children and all that kind of stuff. And so our higher purpose is, yes, we get money back, but what we're really doing is we are helping entrepreneurs and their families live a better life and live the purpose they've always wanted to live via entrepreneurship. And when we give that meaning to the work we're doing, it puts a smile on everyone's face. You can't not be excited about having an impact on all these people's lives just by working reimbursement. So that's what gets us going and probably gives us all a feeling of achievement. And then, but bringing it back to the business, and trying to be the best at what we do and doing one thing very well. I had a client, he's a friend of mine actually, he's a private label seller, doing about just shy of $40 million a year in revenue. And, much to my frustration, he'd been working with another company to do reimbursements. And I was like, dude, come on, like, what are you doing? Like, let us have an audit on your account at least and see what's going on. And he'd been lured in by very low rates from another company, which obviously, as a business owner, you're always trying to reduce costs. It's a logical decision to make, or you think it is. So we ran an audit and we were able to pull 18 months worth of transaction data through the API. And on a $39 million business, we found just over $1 million in reimbursements cash flow that had been missed by another company. Now, that's a huge amount of money for anyone, but why was it even more significant? This person is selling their business right now. And as you probably know, when you sell your business, you sell it typically for a multiple of your last 12 months profit. And if you're getting a 4 times annual profit valuation on your business and you just put another $1 million into the pot, that $1 million is now worth $4 million. So just in a few days, by running an audit, we just made this guy $4 million richer. That obviously puts a smile on his face, but it also, again, it just makes this very real. It's exciting to be able to make that much impact on a business and therefore someone's life. So, yeah, I can tell you lots of stories like this, but what we do is kind of dry and kind of boring. And God, do you do reimbursements? Do you really enjoy it? I was like, yes, I do. Because it's not just what we do. It's kind of the impact it has on people and their businesses is amazing.
You lose $1 million and you gain four more because you made just one decision to call to Getida, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
A difference
He honestly, he didn't believe me when I said, because he's a friend. So we had a sort of semi-informal business conversation and he was like, you're winding me up. This cannot be right. And I'm like, I promise you, this is transaction data for 18 months pulled into our servers. And this is the discrepancy value conservatively. And actually when we started to go to work, the value went way above $1 million, but, it was amazing. It was a lovely thing to be part of.
Thank you, Jim, for your story. It was very exciting. And guys, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. We answer all the comments. Thank you so much for your story. All the contacts of Getida in the description. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Oleg. It's been really nice to see you.